drivers like Williams, Hartman, and Haynes have been the ones in the past who have attempted to outscore multi-time champion Bradley Hawley. But this season, the dark horse of Rachel Hunt has suddenly become the woman to beat. Topping the points chart for the second time in 2020, she's got 18 drop points in her pocket and a realistic chance of taking the crown. Daytona could easily be her undoing with its chaotic nature. We'll see if she thrives and survives as we get ready to watch round 8 of the PRL NASCAR Truck Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, our drivers are getting a lot of practice at Daytona in the past few weeks. In case our viewers haven't been watching our other series, though, why don't you fill us in on NASCAR's first superspeedway?
Sure thing, Joe. Daytona International Speedway is synonymous with American oval racing for many a race fan, and it's not hard to see why. With its legacy linked to Dale Earnhardt and a lineage of close finishes and terrifying wrecks, Daytona owns the news cycle whenever the premier NASCAR series run here. This 2.5 mile or 4.02 kilometer track, known for a constant bumper-to-bumper 2 and 3 wide racing on its 31-degree banked corners, produces some of the closest racing in the world, and the truckers will be hard-pressed to find room to get out to the front tonight without encountering the infamous Big One. With no spare truck and the points battles as close as we've ever seen in this series, the stakes are higher than ever. This and the PRL Cup Series this Sunday are GSRC's last stop at Daytona for Speed Weeks, and we've had a great time here this year, so here's hoping for an awesome race tonight, Joe.
I'm expecting we'll see a fascinating one, that's for sure. But once again, we want to remind you that this series is brought to you by Diecast Kings. Shop Diecast Kings, your home for the best selection of NHRA, NASCAR, and now introducing IndyCar diecast cars at diecastkings.com. Big thanks to them for sponsoring this season. This season, which has seen a championship swap around quite a bit. In fact, we've had no repeat winners thus far. Right now, Rachel Hunt is up at the top, but it is by a mere 1 point. And then you've only got 5 more points back to get to Trevor Clement as well, who has yet to win a race, but has been extremely consistent. And then it's a little bit of a gap, but again, Sink and Knight are still well within range of trying to take over the top spot, all depending on what happens here today at Daytona. As Adam was talking about, that can swap around so easily, and you could find yourself upset just by the smallest of incidents here. Let's look at the team's championship, Adam, and see if that's just as exciting.
It definitely is. Riding Shotgun Motorsports lost 2 positions after last round, dropping to Whataback Back Row and Whataback Ramrod, who are only 4 points separated between those two. Then only 9 points back from the lead is Riding Shotgun in that 3rd position. After that, Backroad Bandit Racing and Rescue Racing Paw Patrol are quite a ways back and probably won't be able to catch up by the end of this season. But it's anybody's game for the crown in the team's championship, Joe.
And in case you've never watched this series, why don't we fill you in on exactly how this race will go today? We are in round 8, as we mentioned. Now, they have 50 laps out there today, but it is limited to 60 minutes. So if we find ourselves in a bit of a caution fest, they won't necessarily get all of the 50 laps in. They do have a fixed setup in this series, so nobody really has to worry about trying to find speed out on the super speedway and get the car too loose. But they also have no fast repair. Adam mentioned that earlier. So you do have to keep it clean because any sort of damage will slow you down at this quick track. They also have an incident limit. 24 incident limit will DQ you. Granted, you have to hit a car pretty hard in bump drafting to start to get those together. So not expecting too many drivers to find themselves disappearing by the end of things. Now, we're waiting for the warm-up to finish, but before we head over to the qualifying, let's bring in our pit reporter for tonight. Kenny Kibbe is down with us. Kenny, we're used to having you out on track racing short ovals, but I have a feeling you're no stranger here to these super speedways with NASCAR. So, I mean, what are you expecting? If you were out there on the track, what advice would you be giving the drivers?
Well, I think it's going to be a tale of a few different strategies here. I think the driver needs to make a decision. Do I want to try to hunt the front, or do I want to hang back and just sit tight and wait for the possible big one to happen in front of me? And coming down late in the season here, we got points to be worried about. But knowing this league, I think most people are going to be on the more aggressive side. But again, you need to be able to finish. If you know, you have to be there at the end if you want to win this race. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how things will develop. But yeah, the key thing here at Daytona is going to be just to stay out of trouble.
Certainly will be on a lot of drivers' minds, I'm sure. Adam, we've also got pretty beautiful scenery going on here. We were just admiring it before we went live, that with the sun setting, certainly looks pretty out here. But by the time this thing is done, the lights should be on, I believe.
Yeah, and that'll make qualifying very interesting. The colder temperatures will lead to hotter internal temperatures for the cars as the front end tucks closer to the pavement, closing off any sort of air that gets underneath that splitter. And that's kind of the goal, the conventional wisdom, however. But we've seen some other strategies as far as setups are concerned. In some of the eNASCAR races, we saw a lot of folks going with higher ride heights in the front. But with the fixed setup tonight, a lot of these truckers are complaining about the rear bumper the rear side skirts rather, scraping the ground through the corners in the first couple of laps. So until the tire pressures come up, they're going to be struggling with a little bit of snap loose on the exit of the corners. So that might cause some early incidents if they're not careful.
It'll certainly be something for us to watch out for, see if we see a lot of sparks. Another advantage of racing here at night, getting to see those bright red sparks just flare up from underneath the trucks. If you're wondering who our winners have been, obviously Rachel Hunt and Bradley Hawley are two of them up at the top of the point sheet. And then we get down, you have to go all the way down to eighth place for Rob Haynes to be your next winner, third different winner here, at least in terms of the points. Of course, you've also got Colton Lane, who won last week, making him the fourth here that I've listed. And a little bit farther down from that, Paul Williams has managed to sneak one in. After that, sorry, I'm having to do a little bit of scrolling just because of their timing sheet having to. Let's see. It looks like Josue Telez has also taken one. Haven't seen much of him as lately, especially not up at the front, not having the greatest of seasons. And then J.R. Smith, another one who has managed to stand on the top step of the podium. Eighth round, will we get an eighth different winner, or will we finally see a repeat?
Well, Joe, this is the best chance that anyone has at taking a win, and it's the best chance that everyone has at keeping the likes of Rachel Hunt and Bradley Hawley behind them, just because of the nature of how chaotic Daytona can be, especially in these trucks. They don't have as much aerodynamic grip, which means that they're not more stable per se, but they tend to drift a little bit more if you get unstable. So they're not as secured to the track. And that can cause issues like drifting out of your lane, exiting the corners, and issues like that can ruin your race if you're not careful and the races of those around you. But it's going to be on qualifying to see who can stay up front and stay out of the trouble, or stay out the back and stay out of the trouble. There's going to be a couple different strategies we'll see at play.
Now, Kenny, a lot of our talking points when we've covered the Cup cars here in recent races has been about how they don't hook up that well anymore with the latest aero package they put on them. Do these trucks suffer the same issue, or is it? Do you think it'll be a lot easier for people to push?
I think these trucks will allow a little bit more pushing, and on restarts, I think you won't see quite as much issues with tire spin and things like that with these Elmore NT1 engines. They're pretty low revving, torquey engines, but yeah, I think you'll see some pretty aggressive pushing, but it still can definitely go wrong. There's definitely a right way and a wrong way to be bump drafting around here.
See who's practiced that. They've had enough time of it. And now it's time to go qualifying as most of our drivers head their way out onto the track. Well, not most of them. Looks like quite a few are still hanging out in pit lane before they get out there. There's no setup tweaks, so wonder if they're waiting for it to continue to cool in these 5 minutes with the sun going down. Adam, I'm guessing we'll see most everybody hanging up high on that first lap.
That'd be my expectation, is people hanging up high or in that middle lane. It's kind of a debate right now which one is faster on your first lap to get a good second lap in. That's we're riding on board with Rachel Hunt. I would actually expect almost half the field not to qualify because they want to hang out in the back, but that kind of ruins that whole strategy, because if nobody qualifies, then you're not in the back, you're in the middle. So that makes things very difficult for everyone. So as we see Rachel Hunt starting her first flying lap, the strategies on qualifying are not just on track, but they're also off track.
I'll be honest, I've seen that a couple times where so many people did not qualify that it was literally half the field that started in the back. So if you got bit, for sure. As I do see the lights on now, so they've just clicked on recently, and they are officially racing under the glowing power of electric energy. So we ride on board with Rachel here, continuing around out of turn 2 and onto the super stretch. She is behind a couple drivers in front of her. I see Chatley, Hartman, and Knight should be able to finish their laps before her. So we'll have a few times on the board now into 3 and 4. And again, this isn't the money lap for most of our drivers, especially as you can see here, the native Floridian, Rachel Hunt, is not riding up at the top, or is riding up at the top rather.
And now she ducks down to that double yellow line, and she's gonna try and put as little steering input into this truck as she possibly can. And if that means drifting a little bit off of that double yellow line, so be it. But you're gonna try and maintain as much speed as possible, just hanging down there on the bottom. Daniel Knight, though, coming across the back of the middle of the backstretch, he's in a similar situation right there on that double yellow line, trying to arc it through the corner.
Rachel did have the fastest first lap, interestingly, for what it's worth. So we watch Knight in that number 17, one of the riding shotgun drivers, come out of 4. Ooh, and is he coming in, or look, he's ducking below the double yellow line. I guess they are allowed to here on the tri-oval. He does go quickest. So we wait for the others to come through, and Rachel Hunt goes about 12 100ths quicker.
Charles Sumner on his first lap as he ducks down to the double yellow line as he crosses the line. So quite a few drivers putting in good times. Daniel Knight still holding on to that second place, with Blaine Adams rolling in third, and now Brett Adams takes over for him. Wow. Blaine Adams and Brett Adams tying each other on times down to the 1,000.
Todd Smith comes across, and his actually puts him ahead of Rachel Hunt. So does Tristan Callahan. Hunt is off the front row. Still not a dire situation, especially here at a super speedway, but clearly has some competition. William Hartman coming through. He's already got 1 lap in. His second is going to put him in 4th.
Trevor Clement coming across as well. He's gonna, looks like he just finished his lap, so his second lap is a 51.588, and that is good enough for 7th place. Charles Sumner just coming across the line and dethroning him from 7th, and Adam Shane coming across the line as well. So Brett Adams here looks like he's just going around one more time. So Jake Hounshell is one of the other drivers we've seen on in a lap, and John LaBath slapping the wall pretty hard as he comes across.
Interestingly, Mike Richter, who just set a time and goes to 11th, did not have his first lap counted. I wonder if he went so high up the track he might have brushed the wall and discounted the lap, because we don't typically see laps uncounted here on super speedways. Usually you have to touch the grass to do that in most cases.
Jason Hounshell's second lap isn't much better than his first, only coming home in 12th position. Jason Hounshell goes up to 6th, and Adam Shane crosses the line of 51.68, and that's only going to be good enough for 15th place. So as they come to the grid, about half the drivers didn't qualify, Joe.
Yeah, just a little less than half did not qualify. So going through that order, it is Todd Smith on the pole with Tristan Callahan to his outside. Rachel Hunt starts in P3, and William Hartman in the 4th position. Daniel Knight will be P5. Then you've got Jake Hounshell in 6th. The inside of row 4 has Rob Hainshair. Charles Sumner starts in 8th, and Trevor Clement will be in 9th. Brett Adams rounds out the top 10.
Blaine Adams is going to start off in 11th place with Jason Hounshell in 12th. Mike Richter is going to take that Lucky Baker Dozen position with Brendan Chatley alongside him in row 7. Row 8 is going to start off with Adam Shane in 15th and Jared Mokart alongside him in 16th in the double odd. Then we have Jared Mokart is actually our first driver who did not qualify, so that puts Bradley Hawley in 17th and Colton Lane in 18th by IR. And we have Dominic Pagine and Adam Zemke rounding out the top 20.
Rest of the grid, again, these are cars that did not qualify and intentionally tried to put themselves at the back. So Thomas Sink, Paul Williams, Josue Telez, Jeff Harrison, Matthew Aubrey, John LaBaff, Nick Hunter, Brian Hotham, Austin Hunter, J.R. Bash, Craig Holton, and Baron Hilton round out your 32-car field. Relatively large field. This series bringing them back repeatedly, as we haven't really had much of a wane in attendance over the course of this season. And a lot of cars out there. It means more opportunities for something to go wrong. We'll see if everybody can hold it together for a full 50 laps.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge for these drivers to hold it together, especially because the starts tend to stack up towards the front. So that'll make things very challenging as they get rolling here. And these trucks accelerate slower than you'd like them to. So it's one of those challenges that you have to deal with, just being patient and not getting into the back bumper of the guy ahead of you.
I do see Blaine Adams is not in the session. So I wonder if we're going to have 31 starters here. At least we will at the drop of the green. And he's just reconnected, so he must be having some issues. That is going to really hurt his race, because he could easily go a lap down if we get a long green flag run here for the first few laps.
Yeah, he missed the grid, so that means he's going to have to start once everyone drives by. That's going to be difficult for him. But if we do get an early caution, he will be thanking his lucky stars for that.
Yeah, that's about his only chance to get back into things, is getting that caution before the leaders catch him, because he will be by himself, essentially, as we see them come down the backstretch. What I find interesting, too, I just noticed this, is have they been using the Porsche pace car all this season? I swore that it was the Mustang before.
Yeah, this is an interesting development. I mean, no harm, no foul. I'm sure some of the Made in America fans are a little bit disappointed, but it is fun to see a Porsche going around the banks of Daytona, especially after the Daytona 24 that we've seen. So, yeah, just, I guess, some variation up there at the front of the field.
Fun fact, actually, when they first used the Porsche and the oval fans didn't like it when it was in here, someone did post they did actually have a Porsche pace car one year for the Daytona 500. It was many, many years ago. I'm talking in the 60s. So as that Porsche pulls off now, Todd Smith has control and the green flag waves. Everybody starts to pick up speed. Not a huge jump for either of our leaders, which they want, so they don't want to pull a gap here, or else they'll be hunted down and passed by the time they get to the backstretch. Everybody already getting the wick up to about 160 miles an hour.
Yeah, very calm start from the front of the field, but that is William Hartman who's going to the back on that high side. He's decided that, you know what, I qualified well, but I actually want to be in the back of the pack, and quite a few drivers ducking off under that WL line to do the same.
It's causing a problem. That was Hawley who tried to get out of things. I do believe Dominic Pagine trying to drop back, as well as Thomas Sink. But that caused a big split, and if they're not careful, they're going to lose the front pack, which I believe goes back to about 14th, and number 59 of Brendan Chatley.
That's very true, and this is one of the most fascinating things about plate races like this, is you often see this race to the back. It's one of the most unusual things about racing, is that a lot of drivers believe you can win, you can get to the front later by going to the back sooner. But like you said, they've lost that front pack by about half a second, and this could cause problems for them later on in the race.
And it doesn't look like they're gaining a whole lot. Granted, it's Hartman up at the front of that group. He's got about half a second. Yeah, he's going to be able to reel them in at this point. That is definitely within range now. Wonder if that is Houndshell intentionally trying to drop back a little to give them a better suck up to the rear of that tailgate. Coming around, it's going to be Rachel Hunt leading this next lap through, starting lap 3. And second, it's Daniel Knight, Todd Smith in third. pretty much single file for the very front until you get the second row started about 5 trucks back, and that's Tristan Callahan up at the top.
Yeah, Tristan's being pushed by Jake Hounshell in the 94 truck. These two worked together well last week and the week before. Oop, and then we have Trevor Clement coming back up to the front as well, as we had. Okay, we had another truck who was going slow on the apron. That was Josue Telez is backing out of the pack as well. So, yeah, a lot of drivers going to the back of the pack right now.
What's interesting is as we watch this, let's stay with this because this is where we want to be. The pack in the back, you can see it there. It's actually quite spread apart. Nobody's really pushing one another either, like you're seeing with this front group. There really is an idea of patience happening back there as we see that top line start to move. Todd Smith now is leading it in the number 19.
Yeah, Rachel Adams has got to be careful not to give too much lane on the bottom lane, or else she's going to be shuffled to the middle of that pack, and that's when the accidents can start to happen. That is the 17 of Daniel Knight trying to push her, but Todd Smith a nose ahead right now as things start to shuffle up in the front.
So far, it looks like there's no real dire situation towards the back as I keep glancing back there, and they are definitely holding on. They just, as I said, aren't quite as organized as this time. Smith is going to lead the lap. Take a look to the bottom side there from the 17 of Knight, but he gets back in line, and now the 111 ducks ahead of Rachel Hunt at the bottom. That's Trevor Clement. He's going to take the lead down the backstretch.
Yeah, I'm a little curious why Todd didn't jump down there, because he and Trevor Clement had cleared Rachel Hunt, and that would have been a good opportunity. But now there's only 4 trucks in that high lane. You can see how much speed they're losing down the backstretch.
It doesn't seem like that top line is quite as desirable coming down that backstretch. So the top line coming off of the banking. Not going to gain any momentum. Doesn't look like it this time. Todd Smith still at the front of that. Could we see Haynes maybe duck up in front of him?
Yeah, Jared Mogard clipped the apron a little bit coming through the trioval. Fortunately, he didn't have anyone. Oh boy, we almost have Todd Smith going down. He got a little bit loose there, and it looks like Trevor Clement's going to look to his outside, but wow, Todd getting a little unstable in the corner.
Without much happening in the pits, I can see Kenny getting his binoculars out. Kenny, what are you seeing down at the back of the pack? Because it looks like you're watching that.
Yeah, I'm seeing that Paul Williams and Josue Telez back in 30th and 31st are losing the draft. Maybe it was a strategy call for them to try to go to the back, but it seems to be not working out the way they'd like. They are hooking up at the moment, but they're not going to have the speed to catch up to that group in the draft.
Now, we can see on screen Todd Smith has gone even more extreme than that. He slowed down and went on the apron through 3 and 4. Trying to see, I don't think he's quite up to pace. He's right about 170 right now.
Yeah, that's about all you can do when you've lost momentum by yourself. But Todd was getting extremely loose there, and so that was very challenging for him. I think he just ducked out because he didn't want to cause an accident.
Very bizarre to see someone slow down quite that much and fall all the way to the back. It's going to be Clement still leading, but now we've got Rachel Hunt up on the high side. Might get a push as well from Daniel Knight, who joins her once again. Nope, he's going to leave her out to dry and make it 3 wide for the lead.
This is some points play action going on with Rachel. Oh my goodness, and we have a truck in the wall, actually. That is Brett Adams, who looks like he just disconnected.
I'm not sure if we'll be able to get a replay because he was blinking all over the place, but definitely looked like he smacked it on our screens.
Oh, Trevor Clement going to the back of Trevor Clement's going to go and support Rachel Hunt there in that mid lane. That leaves the 17 of Daniel Knight. Those two drivers in that team out to dry.
Surprised we're seeing a move like that from Daniel Knight this early on, where he tries to continue the shot up on a 3 wide situation. We're only 8 laps in just now, 9 laps in rather.
I'm guessing the reasoning was just trying to get Rachel to get shuffled back to the back of the pack, because Rachel's in that one of those high points contention positions, and if you can get her shuffled back early, that leaves her in a dangerous position. But also, I'm just seeing a lot of instability in both of these lines here.
Clement, another one of our drivers challenging for the championship, so no surprise that he's up towards the top. Knight in there as well, since he's 5th in the points. And we've watched him hover around here in the top 10.
Yeah, so we're losing. This pack has dropped the second pack by about a second at this point, and they're starting to gain a little bit of time now that they've gotten single file, but they were at risk of dropping off the back of this group just a couple of moments ago.
Sumner leads them. Hartman is second in line. Bradley Hawley in there, second in points, remember. So he wants to get up there. Hunter is 4th in line. Colton Lane, Bajin, Sink, Labath, and quite a big group. You can see them still chasing. Jason Hounshell is the last of the first pack, and he's sitting in 12th position. He's got about half a second over Sumner, so should start pulling him back in if Sumner can bring the rest of those drivers with him.
And we've got a lap car of Blaine Adams getting past, a lap truck rather, of Blaine Adams getting past right there. He's going to be able to fall into line very shortly on this front pack. But Joe, this is looking very orderly and mostly single file, except for Rachel Hunt and Daniel Knight and a couple of those other riding shotgun drivers up front. So, yeah, but a lot of drivers really struggling. Ooh, big check up there in front of Tristan Callahan. That was Jared Mogard.
Callahan ducks below the yellow line, lets others by. There's a big evasive maneuver from Chatley. Let's take a look at the replay. Said that was Mogard that started it?
Yeah, it was Jared Mogard getting extremely loose coming down the backstretch. It was a little odd here.
Gonna watch the replay.
Yeah, there he goes, getting loose. He goes onto the high side, and then he has to check up, and that blows up Tristan Callahan a lot.
We come back live. They're double file up at the front once again. Clement on the low side, Hunt on the high side. Knight is pushing Hunt, and looks like Rob Haynes in the 29 pushing Clement.
And you can see just how much of an effect that checkup in the back of that bottom lane had on the momentum of the bottom lane. This has allowed Rachel Hunt with Daniel Knight being the pusher to get up to that front lane, and Rachel Hunt may lead this lap.
So they come by. She did indeed. Just about half a tenth over Trevor Clement across the line. Doesn't mean a whole lot, but of course drivers want to be clear of everybody else and put themselves in a safer position. Still got quite a bit of racing left as we're only on lap 13. Not expecting pit stops.
That was an interesting moment from Jared Mogard, ducking below that WL line and coming back into line. This is breaking the draft for the front group, so that's kind of trouble for them as Rachel Hunt dropped down in front of that front group and is starting to lead from the bottom lane now.
This front group has certainly been a little bit mixed up at times. The bottom lane is hooked up decently well, but that top side, it's a little scant. What's interesting is now it looks like Adam Shane, one of our other of the ride-in shotgun cars, has joined his teammate Daniel Knight. So not surprised to see teams start to work together out here.
He's doing a good job up there, but they're not getting much support. That was Matthew Aubrey, who was with them, but then has decided to duck down back to that bottom lane. So as you're watching Adam Shane just kind of going backwards, that was Tristan Callahan almost drifting up into his lane. Adam Shane taking evasive maneuvers, but he's not close enough behind Daniel Knight to push him to the lead. And Tristan Callahan's going to look up to that high side, and Adam Shane's going to abandon his teammate as Tristan Callahan ducks up to the high side to give Daniel Knight some support.
Almost wonder if they were trying to get back in line. It almost looked like it for a moment because they had an opening. But now that Callahan is there ahead of Daniel Knight, he stays on the high side and certainly sucks up to the rear of that number 77 quite quickly. He could maybe get in line if he wants to. was
Yeah, that
perhaps
was
one of the most organized in terms of lines of the Daytona races I've called recently.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Rob Haynes got a little bit loose off of the exit there and has decided to go to the high side. So now we have a two truck tandem at the front end. That's Rachel Hunt and Trevor Clement, who are up in the lead, just the two of them, with Rob Haynes trying to lead that high side to the lead now.
Unlikely allies, but I guess they both have the same interest, which is to get up front and get away from everybody. So for now, they can work together to try and make this, give them some gap. At the top, though, Rob Haynes getting that push from Richter has actually got a decent head of steam. They're going to have Brendan Shatley get in line as well. Daniel Knight, though, who was on the top side, ducks down low, and he joins the bottom line.
Yeah, Rachel Hunt is trying to get pushed there, and it's just not working out for her right now. But man, that bottom lane now with the support of Daniel Knight is going to start pushing forward and leaving that top lane to dry. That top lane just does not have enough trucks up there to keep that pressure on that bottom lane.
What's interesting, though, is even though they've got Hunt up there, Clement, and Knight, of the other of our top 5 in the points, Holly's still running down in 15th, and Sink is in 19th. They're still in that second pack and haven't really done anything. And now that they've lost what looks like actually somewhat of a large gap up to the front group, they might be losing out unless they get a caution here soon.
Yeah, there's almost 3 packs, but it's going to be 2 again as Charles Sudmer's closing up to the back of Jason, Jake Hounshell, as well as Matthew Aubrey. And so as we're watching on screen, the field is pretty fragmented, but those in the back are literally just riding around, waiting for a caution to happen up front. And they might get their wish soon because things up front have been pretty squirrely over the last couple laps.
That front pack is now down to 10 drivers left. Back 3 also starting to get a little bit of leeway, though. The double lot of Mogard, Callahan, Aubrey just kind of hanging back there. Woo! That was a shaky push there from, I think that was the 51 on the 29 of Haynes.
Yeah, Tristan Callahan is trying to hang on there behind these trucks as everything's starting to get a little bit shaky off the corners now. These trucks not handling the best at the moment. And there we go. There's Daniel Knight go to the high side again, trying to make it work in front of Rob Haynes. And we have some pit takers.
We have people heading the way of Kenny Kibbe. Kenny, who all's joining you?
Yeah, it looks like we have Charles Sumner, William Hartman, Bradley Holly, Colton Lane, some really fast trucks into the pit lane right now. I was kind of earlier than I expected to see, but I'm sure that this is just normal service for all these trucks.
They not taking 4, only going for 2. Is anybody going to go with, though?
Well, I would expect
Hartley did.
Yeah, I would expect some trucks to come into the pit lane now, and it looks like we're seeing that. We got 3 more trucks coming back in, KB.
Yep, we got Mike Richter, Rob Haynes, and there's one other truck coming in as well. I'm assuming that this would be a similar strategy to what the last guys did. Maybe 2 tires, and then they'll be heading out.
Ooh, and I just saw Baron Hilton miss his pit stall by quite a bit. In fact, he's still working on getting that thing in there as we watch Brennan Shatley take his service. Blaine Adams going to be the first one to head on out. Rob Haynes and Shatley also getting out together. So the leaders follow suit. These drivers all at risk of going a lap down, especially if we get a caution. No, everybody's staying out.
What's fascinating to me, Joe, is that if these drivers right here can get organized, they might be able to gain time on the drivers who just pitted. As they're going by a couple drivers and putting them a lap down, this could make things very interesting going into a caution if we get one. But look at this, zipping past Jeff Harrison on that bottom side. This is making things interesting now.
So right now, our drivers who have pitted, the first ones that pitted, I believe are still on the lead lap, if I'm seeing correctly. Lots of Holly and Hartman.
That is correct. They're about half, well, not even quite a bit, like about half a lap behind the leaders.
Must have been very good stops for them. As we watch the leaders continue on around. Also with Hawley and Hartman, there's Sumner in there. Looks like Lane starting to hook up. In fact, they're getting a lot more organized in that group. Haynes, Chatley also starting to connect.
Ooh, look at that. Bradley Hawley unable to get down to that bottom side. He's get forced out there.
Yeah, it looks like he wanted it, but decided not to take it. That was Colton Lane. No, that was Rob Haynes. No, it was Colton Lane, excuse me, that cut him out. Some of our drivers are getting lapped now who took their pit stop. Adam Zemke going a lap down from our leaders.
And Nicholas Hunter just went down as well, as this lead pack has continued to stay out. Now, this is 3 laps longer than the pack who just pitted, so this is going to be very interesting. It's going to be interesting to see who benefits from this point as we go on board with Rachel Hunt.
Kenny, do you expect there to be much pace advantage to taking these fresh tires? Is an undercut possible?
I'm not really. I wouldn't think the tires would have a whole lot of value. The track temperature is only 79 degrees. It's pretty cool tonight. If it was a greasy day race, then I would think the tires would wear out a lot more. But I think you might be able to get away with just taking 2 really all night. Maybe take right sides one stop and left sides the next stop.
Well, let me tell you, Joe, we're getting some interesting lap times here. Some of the drivers in the back of that back pack are doing 47 flats, whereas our drivers up at the front are doing 48 flats.
I wonder if anybody's got a crew chief in their ear and letting them know they'll need to come in with a buddy if they do come in. So we ride on board with Sumner now. This is in the second group pushing. And keeping an eye on the leaders to see if any of them duck in. We're exactly halfway next time across the line.
Here's the lap times there. It's not as big of a spread as you'd like it to be between these ones, but they're doing 48s at the front of this pack, but it's the drivers who are further back in that pack who are doing 47s, but they've got more to lose. They have more ground to make up. So as we go back and take a look at this front pack doing 48 threes at this point. That second pack still 48 ones, so they're gaining time in that second pack.
Also looking back, and I see Paul Williams, Josue Telez, Craig Holden, J.R. Bash, and Todd Smith all in their own tiny little group. This is around 10th to 14th. Leaders decide to stay out.
I think they're going to go as far as the fuel's going to take them at this point, Joe. They're committed to staying out now.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Taking a look if anybody from the second pack decides to come in. The answer is no. They're all going to stay out.
Now, the second pack is a very interesting one. It's all single file at this point, but that doesn't seem to be the fastest way around the track as we take a look at that smaller pack that we were just talking about.
And it's also interesting to note, it seems like it's calmed down somewhat. I don't feel like we're seeing nearly as much dicing around now that the packs have become smaller.
No, not at all. These drivers are very much, they realize what jig is going on here. They realize that they are racing against the clock at this point, that they have to go as fast as possible at the front of this pack. We're not seeing the moves like we were seeing before. We're seeing Tristan Callahan and Rachel Hunt just leading these 2 packs side by side, none of them really trying to get an edge over the other. They're just riding at this point, trying to make as much speed as possible.
So far, we've been meeting green since the race started here tonight, and we're 27 laps in. Hasn't been without dramas, but thankfully none of them have been caution-causing. We'll take a look at Knight now, back there, or up there, I should say, in this first group, riding on the high side, second in line. That's the 77 of Callahan in front in the John Deere.
Working really hard here, trying to just hold on to the back of that John Deere truck, trying to stay in those tire tracks, because Tristan's a little unstable off of the corners, and that can be difficult as the pusher. You don't want to push too hard. At this point, Rachel Hunt has got a truck and a half gap over Tristan Callahan as they exit the corner. Watch Callahan gain this back.
Yeah, down that back straight. They start to gain a little bit, but now it's going to be the longer lane on that high side of the banking. Usually when we talk about how long they have on fuel, it's to do with a caution that makes it close at the end and we go green, or we're talking about something like the GTE cars who tend to go long here in the PRL. And now I'm not used to having to ask this, Adam, but how far can they go?
Well, I don't think that anyone's really been able to run a green flag stint in the trucks for a while, especially in a pack. None of my teammates have been able to get one in, so I mean, this is a big surprise to me to see it be this clean. I haven't seen a truck race this clean in a year, Joe.
Yeah, I was trying to rack my brains on exactly how far, because they've limited the fuel compared to what the real trucks can do, which changes it up a little bit for us. Of course, we saw the Cup cars go about 33 to 36 laps, and they're already up to lap 30.
It looks like Callahan and Daniel Knight were being strung out to dry, so Knight has abandoned Callahan. Callahan's the only truck on that high side, so I think pit stops are about to happen.
Yeah, I was just about to say, everybody trying to get to the low side, to me, says they're prepping to bring it down to their pit crews. So will they come in this time by? Hunt leads, Clement second, Shane is now in third, Mogard fourth, Aubrey fifth in that line. Is it this lap or the next one? I'm not seeing any takers. They're all going to stay out.
I can tell you that for sure William Hartman is gaining time by having taken that early pit stop. The gap was 23 seconds just a lap ago, and it's now down to 22.4, so almost 0.5 of a second this time. Look at how organized they are.
Yeah. This train goes quite a ways back. It's down to 9th place or so. Looks like Jason Hounshell, the last one. They're bringing along Adam Zemke. That's why, if you're counting, we've got 10 cars in line. So it looks like, yeah, 10.
Yeah, and this train on screen is the one that William Hartman is leading, and that's... Oh, and we have the leaders into the pits, and they came quite early. They're going to have plenty of room to break.
Where's oh, wait. Hunter and Zemke have pitted. So this is all of the front group.
Hartman is just going across the middle of the back at this point. So all the drivers, all that front 14 have come into the pit. Except for the gap of Paul Williams, Josue Tellez, Todd Smith, Craig Holden. They've all stayed out.
They have indeed. Kenny, do you see anybody taking that two-tire strategy?
Yeah, I think so. I'm seeing some times of 9.2 seconds from Hanshill, 10.5 from Clement. One thing to note from Clement, too, he actually passed Rachel Hunt on entry to pit lane. Very good job by him to get it woed down, but get that competitive edge to make a pass while doing his pit stop.
And this is our lead pack that we're looking at on screen. Paul Williams, Josue Tellez, Todd Smith, and most of them are coming into the pits right now. Yes, they all are, all four.
And as this is happening, even though Clement is the first out, Hartman and his group are all in an organized pack, and they just freight trained him. Absolutely blew by. Don't need a replay. It's just literally left him in the dust so fast that I don't think Clement is able to hold on to the draft if we back up this shot from above.
No, Clement is not able to hold on to that draft at all. Trevor Clement is a full 1.5 seconds off with no help behind him. Jake Hounshell's 1.25 seconds off of him, and then Rachel Hunt's 1.1 seconds behind that. all these drivers who just pit are going to be half a lap down by the time they get organized.
For all of our naysaying, this group that pit early has really come out smelling like roses, being led by Hartman, Sumner in second behind him. Lane is now in third, Haynes fourth, and Chatley in fifth. And back there in sixth, our second of the championship, only one behind Hunt going in, is Bradley Hawley.
I mean, it was ill-advised to doubt them with names like Hartman, Sumner, Lane, Sink, Richter, Bajin. I mean, these drivers are very experienced in this series, very experienced in the trucks. No doubt that they knew what they were doing when they came into the pits, and doubting them was not probably a good idea.
So now drivers like Hunt and Callahan and all of them, they really need a caution. Clement's probably going to get gobbled up by this group that's hooked together back there. That looks like Houndshell, Mogard, Knight, well, both Houndshells, and Hunt all working together. Get on board with Hartman looking back at Sumner. Looking at how many laps we have left and who pitted. 15 laps, so it should actually be doable to the end. Shouldn't need a second stop if it stays green for this top group.
Yeah, it's going to be touch and go, though, to get them to the end. Kenny, you've been making some observations as far as how long that front pack went.
Yeah, some of the guys who pitted first, they pitted around lap 19. So if you go to lap 50, it'd be about a 31 lap run to the end. And we saw the leaders who pitted later, they ran up to lap 31 to maybe even a couple that pitted after that. So if those guys can make it that far, then the leaders who pitted first should be able to make it that far. But if we get a late caution like a green, white, checkered finish, that could throw a monkey wrench into things.
Right now the front group includes 11 trucks. It's Hartman, Sumner, Lane, Haynes, Chatley, Hawley, LaBath, Sink, Richter, Hunter, and Bajin in that group.
We have another pack of about 5 trucks led by Jason Houndshell in 13th position, and they cannot get organized. They have Jared Mogart as their second in-line pusher, with Rachel Hunt off the back of this pack, and they have been struggling to stay in line, and they're losing time to that front pack.
Mogart's trying to get hooked up here as they come up to the tri-oval to give a little bit of a shove. And they're going to get, well, oh, is this a high line forming in this tiny little group? Houndshell, Jake Houndshell rather, with Rachel Hunt giving a shove. Maybe not happy with how things are working. They finally start to catch up to Clement, though, who they're going to leave high and dry.
Yeah, they've got to get by Clement. Clement doing a good job staying low. That's going to give him the best opportunity to get onto the back of this pack. And Tristan Callahan, who's hanging out on the back of this, might hook up with Clement to get caught up there. But look at that. Rachel Hunt losing a lot of time here. She's actually going to back up to Clement and get some support. And this might actually enable her and Houndshell to get by.
But this actually didn't start from her backing up. It was Daniel Knight who made a little bit of a weave, and Jake Houndshell had to take evasive action, checked him up. Hunt had to check up because of Houndshell. Now they're starting to catch everybody, though. A little bit shaky there, though, in that pack. Meanwhile, up at the front, no such problems. It's incredibly organized. It is just a line of ants right now.
Yeah, they're all being very organized, but you can start to see a little bit of signs of movement here as William Hartman getting shuffled around a little bit by Charles Sumner down that backstretch. But someone's going to decide to make a move at some point here, and that's going to be when all the chaos is going to start to break loose. They're going to come across to 12 to go this time by. When's go time, Joe? What do you think?
I guess that about 5 to go, you're going to see drivers start to make moves. But, you know, Kenny was talking about it before, Adam, that drivers have to think about the championship. And if it is go time, if they start making those risky moves, this front group does find themselves in a position where they could get collected in the big one, because they have a lot of trucks here. and drivers like Holly, won't want to, and Sink won't want to get caught up in that.
Well, well, Joe, you were mentioning that Rachel Hunt has 14 drop points in her bag at this point. So Bradley Holly's not going to want to see any sort of action happening up front. He's going to want to try and get to the front himself, get that win, and be able to clear Rachel Hunt by that amount of drop points. But Rachel working hard on that outside line to try and gain some time, and they're actually gaining time to those leaders.
Ooh. And a note on that too, it's actually 18 points that she's got, so it's even more than that. It was round 3, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that was Eldora, wasn't it? I want to say. Pretty sure that was, because I seem to recall her having a bad day that day. Everything else, she's just been racking in the points. The next lowest behind that 18-point score is a 33. That was in round 2.
This is Clement pushing Rachel Hunt, and this pack they're relatively organized at this point. They've got some fast drivers pushing up at the front, and they are gaining ever so slightly on that lead pack. When we get to 5 to go, they might have a good opportunity. Ooh, and we actually had a little bit of a moment in the back of that pack between Tristan Callahan and Jared Mogard. That when the pack was checking up, Mogard did not see it coming and hit Callahan quite hard in the rear.
If we could get a lap comparison between our leader of the front group and the leader of Hunt's group. So that would be Hunt and Hartman that we would want to try and compare here, because that'll definitely tell the story. Is if she is gaining on the leaders, well, the numbers will tell the tale, as they say.
Wow. Some significant gains on a couple of laps. Almost 7/10, and the last lap was 2/10. So the leaders, if they start mixing it up here, it could definitely bring this group to them. As Kenny's observing from the back, wow, they're gaining a lot of time.
And again, this is fixed setup, so there is no difference in that among these trucks. It is all down to who you team up with, how well you team up, and the driver behind the wheel keeping smooth. We continue to watch this front pack being led by Hartman in the 67. Since the pit stops completed, he has been our leader. No one has challenged him. Everybody really is biding their time.
Yeah, but it's not working out for them. They're not keeping Rachel Hunt's pack behind them. Rachel Hunt is closed it down to 1.5 seconds when it used to be 3 seconds when they came out of the pits. So this gap is closing, and fast.
All right, we've got Rachel on screen. 1.3 seconds just to get up to Dominic Bajin. They can see him, and it's not even Bajin who's at the tail of it. It's 2 lap trucks, Blaine Adams and Jeff Harrison. So she's getting even more draft than what that timing and scoring suggests. It's about to get very interesting.
Wow, 5-6 miles an hour faster by Rachel Hunt. Look at them gain on this pack. This is insane.
And I don't know if that was an attempted block or what, but Jeff Harrison tried to move up. That may have slowed down Hunt a little bit. Both she and Clement are trying their best to see if they can move to the front. Bajin sees him coming. Bajin pulls to the high side. See if he can take advantage of this.
Here we go. It's time to go, Joe. We're almost to 5 laps to go. We're crossing 6 at this point, and look at this. A bunch of people going to that high side. They saw Rachel and Trevor coming, and they were like, I want to get on board that train.
Yeah, but it may have been a little too many. They're going to really have to push here as Blaine Adams sees what's happening with him being lapped down. He's just going to tuck out of the way, and people up at the front are starting to go with 7 laps to go. We got a high line way ahead of them with Rob Haynes at the front and a huge head of steam as he's actually on his way to the lead here.
Going to try and make his way past William Hartman, being pushed by Brendan Chatley on that bottom side. All these drivers working very hard, but now it is time to go. Everyone's lined up. We got Bradley Holly coming up to join that top side at 3 back. Man, it's starting to get exciting here at Daytona.
Holly gets stuck on the bottom side, though. He's down about 4th in line. He wants to be up ahead of Rachel Hunt. Wants to take that points lead back. As they come down the back stretch, it is now 2 distinct lines that have formed, as opposed to the single file racing we've been seeing ever since the pit stops with this front group. Haynes has a nose ahead as they come into turn 3. He's not fully clear, so he can't get down in front of the 67 quite yet. They start to lose time, and now they've got lap traffic too. Brett Adams is ahead of them. Adams going to come through the pit lane.
Good call from Brett Adams to get out of the way there, but they're coming across 3 more lap trucks, and these have been battling for position for quite a while, and they're not going to, I don't know if they're going to stop doing it when this lead pack comes by, Joe. This could get really dicey.
Any one of these drivers within, gosh, this is the top 16 or 17 here, could take the win today. 4-lap traffic sees them coming. Most of them duck low. That is, it's not Brendan Chatley. Who is that? That's Baron Hilton, who stays up high.
Oh no! Spin! The 59 goes around!
Drivers scatter.
Rachel Hunt's
gets involved in it. Knight as well.
Bradley Hawley is able to make it through. Huge points implications.
No spare car, remember. So, let's see. I see Charles Sumner in there. Yeah, Hawley did a great job keeping out of that.
So Rob Haynes
replay
crosses the line in first after all of this.
We do get a green-white checkers, and we're 4 to go. So we might get a 2-lap shootout here.
So this started with the 59 truck who is pushing Charles Sumner, and he thought he had cleared William Hartman, and it did not end up working. This was coming down the backstretch here. We're going to see it right here. The 59 of Brendan Chatley thinks that he's clear and comes down across the nose of the 67, not realizing he's not clear, and that causes the big one.
Just a big mess. We're going to watch it from above. If we want a good onboard, he didn't get out fully clean, but the 49 of Jason Hounshell had a pretty miraculous escape.
And Bradley Hawley as well.
Number 49, you'll see there. Yeah. Bounces off somebody and just threads the needle. Car that he ran into, truck that he ran into, that was Dominic Jean. This is from on board the 49.
That is a terrifying moment as a driver. You know, you're slamming on the brakes. You're trying to go wherever there's a lane. He just has to bounce off the side of Dominic Jean. And look at that. He lines up behind him at this point. Man, that's he's going to have to change his fire suit after this race.
So how hard did Rachel Hunt get hit? That's the question. Because she could still get back out there. She's in taking repairs right now. Let's see if we can send Kenny down there. Kenny, can you get close to the truck and see what kind of damage is on there?
Yeah, it looks like she definitely has some right front and left rear damage. It looks most severe on the right front. She's still in her pit box, though, along with a large group of other trucks. They all but 2 of them didn't come in until this lap. They didn't to take a yeah, so it looks like she might be done for the night, guys. It's pretty broken.
Yeah, and she's out of the truck. They might be taking it behind the wall there. We're not sure if she's going to be returning. She's going to have to get back in soon because she's going to go a lap down if she stays in for about 30 more seconds.
It might be mandatory engine damage, guys.
There's a group of about 8 trucks that are still sitting in their pit boxes.
Yeah, they did. The stewards did get on there and say that if you have engine damage, you should not be getting back out on track. So Rob Haynes now up at the front, Hartman behind him, LaBaff in there, Richter, Hawley suddenly here we thought that he was going to be having a bad night, finds himself running 5th with a chance at a win. Oh,
Rachel
and it
Hunt.
sounds like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, she's rolling back out. I think this is the right play. We're going to go. We are onto a green-white checker, so this is absolutely the right play. She might have an opportunity to make some time up here, even if she has a bad engine.
Yeah, every position counts. So might as well get out and try to finish it. See what you can salvage. And even if she gets fewer than 18 points, she will still get those 18 points, and today's score will become her drop week. I have to check and see what she would score. Where is she right now? She's in 22nd. So I'll have to do some digging for the rules here. Meantime, who else up at the front has an opportunity? Bajin, who may have gotten a little bit of damage from that contact with Jason Houndshell, is up there, but we're not sure. Thomas Sink, 4th in the points. He sits 6th. He's directly behind Bradley Holly right now.
Kenny, you've been taking a look at, I mean, this is the situation we talked about with fuel mileage. What are your thoughts right now? Who is anyone gonna have to pit?
Well, I think they're gonna go for it regardless. The top 7 I'm seeing were in that group that pitted first on either lap 19 or lap 20. So here at lap 50, we'll have a 30 lap or so run, but we're gonna go past that. So I think they're gonna go for it, but it is just something that's been just on my mind. Just they will be close.
Been trying to dig up the points here on the rule sheet, and I'm not quite. Oh, here we go. This looks like lights are out. And do we have it? Yes, here we go. I guess it will be a 2-lap shootout. So we're going slightly into overtime. And it looks like it's 1 point down from a win at 42 points. Oh boy, we have to do math, Adam. This is not a good thing.
Oh no, oh no. Well, Joe, while you're doing math, I can say that those of you who are worried about the time being a factor, they're only at 43 minutes on the clock at this point, so they're not going to have to worry about running into a time issue with this green light checker. So they're fine on time. So we're definitely going to see the checkered flag this race on lap.
It's going to be close. She's scored in 24th right now, so that'll be about 20 points if I'm doing it correctly. And again, she has 18 drop points, which she will earn no matter what. Of course, that's not the desirable result. She wants as many as possible. And this will definitely take the lead away unless Bradley Holly himself finds that he wrecks before the end. And they will have another caution if they get it before the white flag. So they have to keep this clean. They don't want to see this Porsche pace car again, because that is it. That will end the race. All right, out of turn 4, Rob Haynes will have control of the field. Started this race in 7th. Let's see if he can finish it in 1st. Pace car is in. Green flag is out, and they start to speed up. And they keep it clean. Immediately ducking low. William Hartman not interested in that high line, apparently.
The high line's going backwards, Joe. People getting very held up behind, I believe it's John LaBaff on that high side. It's 3 wide back there. Things might get messy.
Oh, come on. Keep it together, guys.
Man.
That's Mike Richter in the 51 as
Oh,
well.
there it
He
is.
gets bumped, and they go offline, though. Could we manage to keep it from going yellow? I think we're going to stay green.
I think so, but it's 3 wide for the lead right now, Joe, and the 2 wide in that front pack. Things are getting very spicy up here. That's Rob Haynes, William Hartman, John LaBaff, Mike Richter, all battling for.
Oh, while we were watching that, Haynes shuffled back to 3rd in line. Definitely doesn't like that. Hartman is your leader. If we get to the white flag, and we will finish under green, this is going to be it. Up on the high side, it's Paul Williams in the number 7 with a head of steam, and guess who's with him? It is Bradley Holly, his old rival, who's going to try and push him ahead, but he's not clear. Williams is, though. If he wants to try and leave him out to dry, he could. He does not. Half a lap to the victory. Who is going to take it here at Daytona? Will we get an 8th different winner tonight? Dominic Bajin back there could find himself. John LaBaff could win it. Oh, as the 7 gets turned, Holly ducks up to the high side as everybody collects behind him. Meanwhile, up to the line, Bajin tries to use the draft, but he's too far back. Bradley Holly is going to be the first repeat winner this season.
Wow. Right place at the right time, Joe. Bradley Hawley crossing the line in first. Dominic Machine second. Rob Haynes will come home in third position.
Sink manages fourth as well. That will help him in the points. Where did Hunt finish? Did she manage to get through that?
She finished in 14th.
Wow, that is a good climb. I think she had to really pick her way through because I'm looking back at things and she took it really slow to the end. Let's look at the replay starting with the number 7 because I think that started with Williams.
Yes, it was Paul Williams. I think this might have been, dare I say it, Joe, a little bit of, a bad push and a little bit of netcode combined to make one of those crazy wild spins that we see, top spins that we see. We're going to see it right here. Williams is going to dive down to that bottom lane in front of Hartman. Hartman's coming across and makes a bad push into that left rear quarter panel, and that's what sends them around, and then everyone gets collected. Look at Bradley Hawley just sneak by on that high side, and then, man, just chaos behind them.
Yeah, he picked his spot perfectly. And Thomas Sink, if we want a real quick one too, watch the little one. You can see it here on this replay and the slow-mo. Look for a black number 48. Just slow it down, go as low as possible. And as all that's happening above him, that's Sink taking that 4th place by doing that. Brilliant move by him. Fantastic.
Chatley sneaking through it as well, man. That is a classic Daytona finish if I've ever seen.
Oh, well, a very chaotic Daytona finish. That's going to take us to break, though. We're going to come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around because on screen you're going to see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. This was a classic, not just for Daytona, but for the Precision Racing League. The NASCAR Truck Series gave us a great round 8 where Bradley Hawley finally takes his 2nd win. The first driver to actually take more than 1 win this season. That'll give him the points lead back with Dominic Vigine finishing in 2nd place. Rob Haynes will finish in 3rd, rounding out the podium. Thomas Sink, we showed his move on that replay at the very end. Very nicely timed move to give him 4th. Josue Tellez, of all people, kind of an anonymous driver all race long, but wound up 5th because of that wreck. Jason Hounshell 6th and Todd Smith in 7th from the pole. Tristan Callahan was 8th with J.R. Bash in 9th, and John LaBaff winds up 10th.
Coming home in 11th place is going to be Adam Zemke with William Hartman in 12th. Jake Houndshell's going to come home in 13th place. And then Rachel Hunt makes it all the way back up to 14th after being involved in the big one. Nicholas Hunter comes home in 15th with Colton Lane in 16th. Craig Holden's going to come home 17th today with Mike Richter, Brendan Chatley, and Matthew Aubrey rounding out your top 20.
And you get to lap down trucks. This is people who unfortunately couldn't make it to the end. Williams, Clement, Mogard, Sumner, Hotham, Shane, and then it gets to be people who were either DNF'd or very badly damaged. Knight, Hunter, Hilton, Harrison, Adams, and Adams. We have our winner here with us. The first driver, as I mentioned, to win 2 races this season. That's how crazy it's been. Brad, this is going to give you the points lead back, but I'll draw on that meme that goes around a lot. I'm not going to lie. You had us in the first half. We saw you riding around in the back, take an early pit stop. We had just about written you off at one point.
Oh yeah, that was our strategy from the get-go. I mean, with plate races, it doesn't matter what strategy you run, it's a 50-50 on either getting taken out or being there at the end.
So did you know that the early stop, though, would allow you to jump the other group? Because when they eventually took their stops, you guys just steamrolled them.
Yeah, I had a feeling like once we got lined up and just, got a groove going on that we were going to be faster than, the pack that was running side by side. Like when we were just cruising in the back, I mean, we could gain half a second down the backstretch alone if the gap got too big. So I mean, we were pretty confident that we were going to pull a gap, and then we just got pretty comfortable after the pit stops.
Obviously, with Rachel falling victim to the first caution, that put her a little bit down, and she did recover a bit. But you're going to gain a lot of points on her with this win. But you have no drop weeks because of your lack of attendance at Chicagoland. Does that make you nervous at all?
Yeah, it does. But now that we got the plate race out of the way, it's more in my hands on if I finish a race or not from here on out. I mean, we got what mile and a half tracks and a 2-mile track left.
Yep, Vegas is up next.
Vegas, yeah, that's right. So, I mean, as long as I can stay out of trouble, I think I'll be okay with that. It's just a matter of keeping the nose clean and making sure you don't tap a wall at any point.
Well, we'll see if you keep that nose clean. And again, congratulations on the win.
Thank you very much.
That was our winner, Bradley Hawley, in the number 184 truck. Up next, Adam is going to be talking to Dominic Begine, our second place finisher.
Yeah, Dominic coming through turn 4, and you see Paul Williams spitting below you. Were you worried he was going to come up and hit you at that moment when you were going past that wreck?
Yeah, being on the outside, I mean, I was not really happy being there, but I think I got pretty much lucky. I followed Brad, then we managed to get through that, luckily.
Yeah, Dominic, looks like you had a pretty up and down night there, but a really good finish considering your starting position of 19th. How hard was it to cut through the pack today?
I think it cut down to the pit stop. Good timing on the pit stop. Followed the leaders. I mean Brad and the guys, and that led up to be able to come up front in the top 10 or top 12, I think. And after that, we managed to stick together. It was good until the end. Unfortunately, we had those 2 cautions, but overall, I think it's fine. Always start at the back in this track and try to cruise around for like 40 or 35 laps, and then after that, starting racing is the deal now.
So you've done a great job making it through this plate race. Are plate races one of your favorites, or are you glad to see this in the rearview mirror?
Weirdly, I always do good, so I'm gonna say I'm happy with that. I don't like racing here. Every time I'm getting close to getting taken out, so I'm glad it's behind.
Well, Dominic, great finish today. And is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, you guys in the PRL for putting this up, and congrats on Brad on the win again. Hoping to a good finish to this.
Well, thanks for talking to us, Dominic, and we hope that we get to see more of you up here in the booth in the future.
See you guys. Thank you.
That was Dominic Bajin, our second place finisher tonight, and it looks like Kenny Kibbe has got Rob Haynes, our third place finisher. Down to you, Ken.
Down here in the pits with Rob Haynes. Talk to me, Rob. Tell me about that last restart. You restarted on the front row. Did you think of that as an advantage or a disadvantage going into the green-white checker?
Complete disadvantage there, Kenny. See my teammate there starting in fourth, or one of my teammates there starting in fourth, but I knew he had a bit of damage on the front end. So, man, once I see them blow by on the outside there, I thought that's there goes that dream.
Yeah. But then on the last lap there, you got shuffled back to around fifth or sixth, and the wreck happened right in front of you. And man, you were in it, and you somehow gathered it up. What was that like driving through that and coming home third?
Yeah, I seen it happening there. Not much I could do. There's just get on the brakes as hard as I could, get down to the bottom, hope they continued to slide up to the wall, and just try and, if I had to, push my way through. Yeah, not much you can do. Last lap, everybody's trying to get to the start-finish line, and that's some of the mayhem that can ensue.
Well, you did make it to the start-finish line one last time. You had a really good run. Is there anybody you'd like to thank for this run tonight?
Yeah, of course. You guys at the Global SimRacing Channel, I appreciate everything you do at PRL. The fans who are watching, Precision Racing League, ETC, Roman Delight, Inline 309, Rescue Racing, my teammates, Rescue Racing.
Well, that's good stuff, and it's good talking to you, Rob, and we'll see you next week.
Appreciate it, Kenny. Thanks, guys. Appreciate everything you guys are doing at GSRC. Brings PRL along, and we're having fun.
All right, that was third place finisher Rob Haynes. And next we've got fourth place finisher Thomas Sink. Thomas, I have to say that move at the end really impressed me. But I think the significant thing, if I'm looking at it right, you're either going to be second or third in the points now. That's got to make you feel good.
Yeah, surprising, actually. I've had a little luck for once the last couple of races.
Yeah, it seems like this has been a very topsy-turvy season for a lot of drivers, and you can even just look at your points, how they sort of go a little bit up and up and up until finally, of course, tonight with a very good finish as well. Coming up to Vegas, though, do you think you can continue that trend? Are you looking maybe at podium, possibly a win?
I hope so. I mean, ideally, I'd love to get a nice podium for once. I don't think I got one last week. I'm not sure, but a win would be amazing.
All right. Well, we will keep an eye out for you. There's going to be only 2 rounds left. The championship not out of the cards, but anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Stars and Stripes Realty, Inline 309, American Breadcrumb Company, Steve Lavender, Trading Paints, and then you guys, of course. You guys do an excellent job at our broadcast and keeps me entertained, keeps the family entertained. It's good stuff.
Thank you very much. That was Thomas Sink, fourth place finisher from 21st on the grid, by the way. One of our drivers that did not qualify. Certainly made good on race pace, though. Let's close up with a big thank you, of course, once again to our sponsor once more. That is Diecast Kings. If you want to find them, they are at diecastkings.com, and you can get all your NHRA, NASCAR, and IndyCar diecast cars there. Also, thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts. You can see them listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Adam, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel. Facebook is Global Sim Racing Channel. Instagram is GSRC_Graham. Make sure and subscribe to our YouTube page when you get the opportunity. Just scroll below this video here on YouTube to see a big red button that says subscribe. Then you won't miss a moment. Big thanks to our pit reporter today, Kenny Kibbe. And make sure and tune in next week where we're going to Vegas. That'll be Wednesday, February 19th at 8:50 p.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.